It's Lost in Plot, guys, and today we have Adam McKay's Don't Look Up. This is a Hollywood vanity project. Here we go. So the story is there is a comet speeding towards Earth, and it's going to annihilate all existence and human life. We've got 6 months to do something about it. A couple scientists from Michigan State discover it. They alert the authorities. And then we're into the socio-political commentary, and anytime Hollywood wants to make a big significant change or a statement on something, they reach into their big bag of tricks, and they pull out their greatest weapon, satire. Satire. And I'll tell you this, I'm a huge sucker for satire. I like it because it's a clever way of making fun of people without them really knowing it, right? But what we have here is the plot to Armageddon. Giant rock is going to collide with the Earth, and we have to do something. Only it's playing out against the backdrop of a divided America with political problems, social media problems, just general media problems, and all the other problems you can probably think of. And this is supposed to be a comedy, and it's supposed to be a clever comedy. I found it neither funny nor clever for a satire. And let's talk about what this is really about, because it's really not about a comet at all, now is it? This is about climate change. Yeah, there's no escaping it. When you have such outspoken climate activists as Jennifer Lawrence, who famously retired from acting to become an activist.
She came back.
Leonardo DiCaprio, who's outspoken on the subject, Meryl Streep, of course. It becomes difficult to look past that,
and even Adam McKay himself, our writer-director.
It becomes almost impossible to look past that, even though if you just watch the film play out, you'll realize it doesn't really work as a climate crisis satire because a comet coming to smash the planet and imminent destruction is hardly comparable to what they want to readily compare.
What are you talking about? It's entirely comparable. Now, some of you may have
You can look
this
up and see climate change. It's coming down on your fucking head.
Now, some of you might have watched this. It's the #1 on Netflix right now. Some of you might have watched this and say, what the hell are you talking about?
Big stars.
There's no climate change in this film. It's not about that. It's about a fucking comet.
That's right. It's about the comet.
Well, no, because the comet is a metaphor for this impending disaster that's coming that we can all see, but we're not doing anything about. And that is meant to be climate change. So here's the question that I have when I think about that, is why not just do a movie about climate change? Why do you have to
Because we don't want to be divisive.
Comet? What?
Okay? Don't be so
Why
divisive.
do we have to instead make it about a comet?
So it's a movie for everybody. Now, they think they can pull one over on the rubes, and that you'll like the movie, and in liking it, you'll admit, oh, you've been wrong about climate change the entire time. Shame on you.
That's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to pull the stupid people in there, and it's like, well, if we tell you this story, maybe you'll realize, maybe that light will go off in your brain, and you'll see that, hey, climate change is the same thing. Why the hell aren't we doing something about that? But as you say, it's not very comparable, is it?
No, it whiffs on that one, and that's the major parallel it's trying to draw. But I'm going to give it some other points because it does satirize other elements of society that I think it does pretty darn well.
Do you?
Such as Leonardo DiCaprio plays an astronomer, right? Somebody who's grounded in science, who has a good background in science, and who's committed to telling the truth about this impending crisis that's coming. But what you see happen is as he gains in celebrity and in popularity, he completely changes. And then all of a sudden he's basically a media whore, posing for magazines and smiling and doing TV interviews, and then he's given up his wife to go date, the media talking head, which is, a little bit on the nose and over the top, that he's so much in love with being a media figure that he's almost ready to casually dismiss the science. Who does that remind you of? I know someone.
You mean a public servant that has now become some kind of media celebrity and is in bed with the media?
Exactly.
Someone like that?
Whether they intended it or not,
they didn't intend it.
Big satirical send-up.
They didn't intend that.
Big satirical send-up of Dr. Fauci.
I do wonder when they filmed this, when they actually shot it.
I looked it up. They shot it.
Was it before?
It was in the midst of the pandemic. It was in the middle of 2020. I think it was from May to November, somewhere around
May to November?
So some of this was going on. Some of this they couldn't have seen.
So this is right before the election, because there is a scene towards the end where they've kind of split the population, where either you want to look up and realize that the comet's coming.
That's the worst part of the movie.
You've got a slogan that is, don't look up. Yeah. And all of the don't look uppers are out there with signs that are very much meant to be like a MAGA rally and Trump signs. And
that's the worst part of the movie, because they take the opportunity to just dump on Trump supporters. But really what you're doing is you're punching down. You're trying to mock up all the rubes and rednecks that don't believe what you believe.
Yes.
These people have no power and they have no influence. Why are you punching them? When the people who do have the power and influence that the film should be punching are going by unscathed. And that is, Meryl Streep plays the president, and then her son is chief of staff. The film wants to have it both ways. I think they want to make the chief of staff look like Don Jr., but he ends up appearing to me more like Hunter Biden, which is how I had read it when I was watching the entire thing. But that's an obvious send-up to cronyism and family and how it, taints politics. They do a great job massacring politicians for how disingenuous they are and that just bought and owned. They do a fantastic job satirizing big tech. And they have basically this Steve Jobs, Tim Cook, Bill Gates type of mogul.
Played by Mark Rylance.
Yeah, kind of mogul who controls the politicians and has them in his pocket and makes a critical decision to divert the mission to deflect the asteroid in favor of some greed type of plot to reap all the minerals and benefits that they can find on the surface of the asteroid. So he gets points for satirizing these aspects of society well. It's just, and he satirizes the vapid pop stars and social media culture being more obsessed with whether or not this celebrity's breaking up with that celebrity as opposed to their impending doom. The problem is on that when he pulls his punch and Ariana Grande by the end of the movie is singing you a song about how you need to change your political views and get with it, which is supposedly a call to more celebrities to be activists, which is the last thing I want to see.
Yeah, and the real selling point of this is obviously the cast, of course. We've got a cast of hundreds. They're all coming in here, and they're all trying to get their moment where they can vent out their climate anxieties in powerful performances where they're just shouting to be heard and shouting for people to be aware and to do something, damn it. And that's what we get a lot of here. We get it from Jennifer Lawrence. We get it from DiCaprio, famously. Mm-hmm. So did those performances do anything for you here? Because to me...
No, I thought all the performances were uniformly mediocre. Not impressive to any extent.
I thought it was a whole lot of ham. Yeah. A lot of ham out there.
A lot of self-important bloviating about the topic and, trying to play your role in what you think is this hip kind of satire, which, again, satirically, I give them points in some areas. The one big problem I have is a devastating omission, that if you're going to send up today's society, you're going to hit politicians and you're going to hit the big tech people, you omit cable news and legacy media. Well, you don't even bring them into the mix. One of the most fundamental problems we deal with is all the nonsense and noise created by cable news and legacy media, and they don't get touched at all.
Omitted the film industry to a large point, too.
He did.
There's a small point about them making some kind of big budget disaster movie about the whole thing. But I don't know if the media was meant to be Kate Blanchett in that morning show.
But the Good Morning America, that's representative of legacy media and cable news, is not even close. So to me, that was a big omission, a big whiff. That and the fact that you're trying to liken a comet that's literally going to, collide with the Earth that you can look up in the sky and see versus, the climate change crisis.
But why not just make a film about climate change? If you're so passionate about it and you want people to do something about it, why satirize it this way with a comet coming? And
I don't know.
Maybe this is a film that's made so a lot of people that are involved in it can go home and feel good about themselves. But for the rest of us in the audience that are watching it, I don't feel good. Did you feel good?
No, not particularly. At the end, I felt rather unwell.
Yeah, I wanted it to be over as quickly as possible, and that's where I felt.
So what's the final score?
Well, it's dead. It's dead for me. I'm going to sit this one at a 3 out of 10. Now, it wasn't very funny. The performances, as I mentioned, were overwrought and ham-fisted. It's like local improv night, and your topic is, there's a comet coming to destroy the planet! Go! And that's what we get from everybody for 2 hours. 2 hours of that. So, you like some of the satire, you like some of the nuance. I'm not a big satire fan or the nuance. It's like I said, it's just like, well, if you care so much about it, just do your climate change movie. Do something like that and make your point. Why do you have to do it in this clever way?
I'm going to go my own way. As I said, I'm a sucker for satire. To me, this movie is alive. I'd give I'd give it a 6 out of 10. Now, by no means is this an amazing movie that you need to run out and see. I don't even think this will be a particularly memorable movie at the end of the year.
Can't run out. It's on Netflix.
What I do enjoy about it is the fact that it does satirize certain elements of our society well, which I enjoy. And for me, despite knowing that everybody was such an outspoken advocate of climate change and climate crises, I was able to put that aside and just watch a movie about a comet hurtling towards Earth, despite that obvious metaphor. And if you can look at it and you can divorce yourself from all that stuff and look at it on its own terms, I think it has some interesting things to say about...
What's the point?
What are you talking about?
What's the point? What interesting things? What's the point of it?
Well, there's a lot of interesting... There's points about how our culture, the noise, and how it's impossible to get facts and truth, and how we're misled by media figures, and how people are going to be influenced and believe what they want to believe in many different ways. There's the people that we trust, our public officials, that are more interested in themselves than in their celebrity. There's our politicians who feign like they care about us and instead are trying to serve their own agenda, and big tech who's got all the money pulling a lot of the strings. There's a lot of key points that people should lay eyes on. Yeah. I don't think it's something that you should adopt wholeheartedly. I think you should look at it critically, but I think you should be thinking about these things, and I think to the point that it does raise some serious observational concerns about some of these different aspects, I found it worthwhile to the extent that I give it a 6 out of 10.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So we've got a split.
A split.
The Netflix #1 film, Don't Look Up.
That's what it is. Guys, if you've seen it, please resolve the split in the comments down below. Vote! Is it alive? Is it dead? Let us know your thoughts and feelings. Check us out on Twitter, like and subscribe, and we will see you all on the next one.